I'd like to welcome everybody to today's short webinar on the Virginia Domestic Markets Expansion Program. I'm Robert Brook. I'm the Director of Federal Funding Programs here at the Center for Innovative Technology, or CIT. I'm going to provide a quick introduction to what CIT does and what I do here, and to make it a little bit relevant to the audience that I typically work with. And then we're going to go into today's main presentation, which is going to be given by Dean Young of GenEdge, and also from Amy McCarthy, also of GenEdge. They're going to explain what the Virginia Domestic Markets Expansion Program is and how you may be able to participate in this program that is given specifically for Virginia companies to help them deal with any sequestration efforts that they may have been going through as a DoD contractor, and try to expand your market. So we're going to go into a little bit about what CIT does here. CIT is a nonprofit company here working with, in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We work to accelerate the next generation of technology and technology companies here in the Commonwealth. We have a couple of programs that focus on this effort primarily, and that is the Federal Funding Assistance Program, which I manage, and then we also have the CIT Gap Funds, which is an investment seed fund that makes seed investments into early stage technology companies here in the Commonwealth. If you have any questions, if you think you're looking for expansion capital, or particularly the Gap Fund invests into earlier stage companies that are addressing large commercial market opportunities. Perhaps there's not a lot of folks here online today that would be a fit with that. So, but if you think there is a early stage seed investment needed and you're going to be going after additional larger amounts of venture capital, I'm happy to make that introduction to the right people and see if we can be of help. The Federal Funding Assistance Program, of which I manage, works specifically with Virginia-based companies, primarily in their efforts to learn about and apply for the SBIR and STTR funding at all 11 agencies. We provide various types of training, live workshops, mentoring programs, proposal development assistance, referrals to third-party consultants. We have a small funding pool to help first-time applicants to hire those consultants. So if that's something that you're looking to do, or if you're going to be going after an agency that is unfamiliar to you, we can look into that as well to see what help we can provide. We do have some upcoming training workshops. October 7th workshop on the National Science Foundation program. So for those, again, who might be traditional DoD contractors with some DoD SBIRs, the NSF program is a lot different. There is no built-in customer from the federal side, so you would need to be looking at large market opportunities in the commercial market. Discussions with actual potential customers and others in the value chain are important at the NSF. And they look at a strong management team with a big market opportunity and a leapfrog in technology of your idea. So it can't be just an incremental solution. It has to be really a leapfrog in development. We have a workshop that will be an all-day session in Arlington, Virginia on October 7th. We do have about 7 or 8 seats left in that, and it's a low cost for Virginia companies. We have some other webinars coming up, an eligibility requirements webinar. It's going to talk about the SBIR program in general, and who's eligible and who is not, and some of those specific requirements. If you've received SBIRs and want to learn how to be maybe a little more compliant in how you manage those awards and the compliance efforts there, the government's stepping up their efforts all the time in making sure people and small companies are using the money as prescribed. That might be of interest to you. And we have for those who might be in southern and southwest part of the state, we do have a couple of, actually 3 half-day sort of SBIR tips workshops coming up in Abingdon, Wytheville, and Danville, Virginia. Those are kind of rurally focused events and training that you might want to look at. And then we also have a special session for university researchers on December 11th, a webinar on that. And then we also have, for those who might be interested, some prior webinars that we've had recorded, and there's a special URL link at the bottom of this page here that you can log into. A couple of the webinars are free, the others are very low cost. So you might want to look at those and see if it's something to be a benefit to your SBIR development. For today's presentation, we will, by the way, send these presentations to everybody via email today, so you should be looking for a PDF version of the presentation sometime later today to help you remember some things that were discussed. If you have any questions, the GoToMeeting package, the GoToWebinar package that should be on your screen, there is a question button. You can go ahead and ask the question, use the question, not the chat. And you can submit that to me. Nobody else here is live as far as their mics are not hot other than myself and the presenters. But you can ask those questions. We'll try to address those. I will convey those questions to the presenters at the appropriate time. If for some reason we need to delay the question till the end, we will do that. And if for some reason we don't get to your question, we save those and we'll try to get back with you, and we'll make a connection with everybody here, the presenters and all the registrants anyhow, so you can contact them directly with any questions you may have. Again, today's speakers are Dean Young, who is the program manager for the Domestic Markets Expansion Program here in Virginia, and he's also with GenEdge, and Amy McCarthy, she's also with GenEdge. So CIT is working to help GenEdge promote this program. We thought it was, I thought it was pretty relevant to a lot of the DoD-focused SBIR companies that I work with, as well as others that I come across, to be aware of this program. It's new, it's free. They got some sessions, more training sessions coming up, and it's can really be helpful to those who, again, might have been impacted in some way, shape, or form by the sequestration that's been coming around. So with that, I'm going to, this is my contact information. Everybody has my information most likely. But happy to hear any questions you may have with regards to SBIR training and other things like that. I'd be happy to contact you or give me a call directly or via email, and we can find out more about that. But other than that, let's go to today's main event. There we go. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I had a edit mode going on here. Close master view. Here we go. Nothing like being live. And so, Dean, go ahead and take it away. I'm going to go ahead and provide you with the mouse control, and it's all yours.
Excellent. I love being in charge, so that's good. So again, my name is Dean Young. I'm the program manager for what we're calling the Virginia Domestic Markets Expansion Program, and this is really focused on DoD supply chain companies, and we'll get into some more of the details. With me, I've got Amy McCarthy, who's the marketing director for GenEdge, and we're going to do our best to try to explain a little bit about what the program is, how it's going to roll out over the next year, what the opportunities are for you to participate, and ultimately what the next steps are if you're interested in getting into the program. So without much further ado, there we go. So the situation, I think Rob laid it out pretty well, is that in Virginia we have an inordinate share of the defense budget, and a lot of DoD companies, both directly supplying the Department of Defense, as well as those that supply companies that supply the Department of Defense. And so sequestration and the cutbacks that are going to come with that are really going to have a significant impact on the economy in Virginia. As a top state, the impact we're estimating could be up to 150,000 Virginia jobs that could be affected if companies don't do something to deal with the loss of business that's going to come from some of those sequestration cuts if those continue to go out as expected. What that really means is that we're looking for Virginia companies to act now so that they can start to think about how do you redirect your efforts into other markets. And so the point of the program here is to really try to help those companies that have technologies, products, services, ideas, things that they currently use to supply the Department of Defense and that sector of the economy, that they could possibly repurpose or come up with new markets for, or come up with new products that build off of existing product streams, etc., to try to find ways to be able to redirect or diversify their businesses to take advantage of the commercial space as well as the Department of Defense space. And what we realize is that a lot of companies, especially those who are small to mid-sized, may not either have in-house capability or the ability to afford outside resources to help with those. And so GenEdge has secured a grant, $2 million in grant-sourced funds to try to help those companies compete more effectively outside of the DoD space and to be able to transition into more of a commercial or industrial market. So we'll talk about who is GenEdge. I'm going to let Amy speak to that.
Okay, so hello everyone. GenEdge is an entity of the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are one of about 60 MEP centers across the U.S. The MEP is the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Network, and it's based out of the federal government Department of Commerce up at NIST in Gaithersburg, Maryland. This particular one we serve Virginia and the District of Columbia, and we offer services in the areas of innovation and growth, quality management, process management, supply chain and process optimization. And we have a slide a little bit later that goes into some more detail on some of those services available under this program. We've been in business for over 22 years, and we are structured as a not-for-profit entity of the Commonwealth. We are measured by impact, so we are committed to the long-term success of Virginia companies through consulting services that are high quality and very affordable. We do get federal funding and state funding, and then we do charge a certain portion for the client to make up the difference in what our funding is. Since 2000, we've reported through independent sources over $3 billion in cumulative economic impact. And for every dollar that a company invests in our assistance, the measurement that has been reported is $26 for every dollar. So it's a really good value, and we're sort of a well-kept secret in the Commonwealth, and we hope to help some of the companies like yourselves who've been affected by defense cuts.
Thank you, Amy. So GenEdge is uniquely kind of positioned to help run this program for the Commonwealth. They are used to working with companies who are in this space. We've done a lot of work with other defense suppliers in different areas. And the product offering, or the kinds of consulting and services that GenEdge offers fit pretty well. And so we're helping to run what we've called the Virginia Domestic Markets Expansion Program, or DMEP. And this is really a selective program that's tailored towards providing customized services to companies that are struggling from the DoD cutbacks so that they can do things like enter new markets, develop new products, or find new ways to get their products and services to market, different channels that they may not have access to. Some of you may be familiar, there's a VEDP, the Economic Development, has a program called Glowing Global that is focused on export. This program is specifically focused on domestic market expansion. So it's similar to that program if you're familiar with it, but this program is geared more towards trying to find outlets within the Commonwealth and the rest of the United States in terms of trying to take advantage of those opportunities domestically. The way the process is going to work, and we'll go into a little bit more detail as we go forward, is this is going to be selective. So we have $2 million, but there are a lot of companies in Virginia affected by this. And so what we're trying to do is to identify the best fit for a set of companies that can be assisted via consulting services that will help them establish and execute a strategy to diversify that business. So 90% of the program is, I think Amy said this earlier, was funded by the grant. But the intent here is that we'll end up with 45 companies selected from all of those that apply for the program, and we'll go through an assessment process with those companies to try to identify opportunities and then make proposals back for services with funding available to be able to deliver services to at least 20 companies. And so there is a somewhat of a cost share. It's a 10% cost share for companies that ultimately get to the service delivery part of the program. For those companies, though, what you should expect to see is a fairly significant investment in high-quality resources that cost you 10 cents on the dollar. So it is really an excellent opportunity for those companies that can take advantage of some of the strategic consulting and market-based intelligence and research and things that we may be able to offer. And we'll talk more about what those services are as we go forward. So a lot of the things that we may be looking at helping companies do are strategic planning. And really this is a growth-focused program. So when we start looking at companies and that assessment process that best fit the model in terms of who we can best help, we're looking for companies where we can help grow or maintain business so that it's really intended to offset any loss of growth or loss of business from the DoD cutbacks. We can bring talents like market research, ISO system management and development, certification if necessary. We can help with some technology-driven intelligence in the market. We can help with other product certifications if there are things that we have existing product streams that need help getting certified via other regulatory agencies to be fit for other markets. We can do those things as well. We can help with web presence, supplier scouting and total cost of ownership. So on a supply chain basis, if a company already has a pretty good idea of where they want to go and what markets they may want to take advantage of, maybe identification of products, but they need help identifying different suppliers to get into different spaces, or they need help reducing their cost in order to be more competitive in a given market, we can bring those kinds of services as well. One of the key things I do want to point out is that the services may be phased. They will be based on whatever the needs of the business are, but we do have a limited amount of time in order to deliver those services. This program runs through December 2015, so the services that we're able to offer have to be delivered prior to then in order for the program to pick up the 90% cost share.
Dean, this is Robert. I had a question about do you guys do any CMMI certification as well?
We don't, but as part of this program, the intent is that those things that we are not able to bring, if it's an identified need, we'll engage third-party resources to do those things. So
okay,
one of the things that we've got on our list, but it may still be something that if it comes out of an assessment process as a necessary, then that may be one of the things we're able to offer through a third-party resource.
Perfect, thanks.
So again, there's a vast array of services that we can bring to the table, but the intent is we've got to get through the process of determining, first of all, who are we going to work with, who's eligible, and then ultimately getting through an assessment process. And so the way this is going to run is those companies who currently supply to the defense supply chain, and that's the extended supply chain, so it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to contract directly with DoD. You could be a supplier in the third or fourth tier away, and that's still acceptable, and it's somebody that's going to meet the criteria. The really only numeric criteria we have is that we're looking for companies of greater than 20 and less than 500 employees in Virginia. It is money that's coming through the Commonwealth of Virginia from the Department of Defense, so it is a Virginia-based program. We're looking to impact those companies operating in Virginia. So we're trying to hit that sweet spot of 20 to 500. Someone may ask the question, is there anything beyond that at this point? Those are the criteria. If we aren't able to fully subscribe by finding enough companies that fit the bill in the 20 to 500 range, we may end up expanding that. If we do, it'll most likely expand lower, not larger, but to smaller companies. So if you are near the 20 but not quite there, don't feel like you necessarily have to be excluded, but at this point we are looking at the 20 to 500 as the set criteria for the program. And again, the third criteria is going to be that those are affected by sequestration. The wording in the grant is significantly affected, and so at this point trying to put a number around what significantly affected means for individual companies is difficult because everyone's situation is different. So we're going to evaluate those through the application process, so that we can be as individualized with how we approach this as we can, so that we can reach the companies that best make sense for us to work with. This is a Commonwealth-wide program, so we're marketing this across the Commonwealth to create awareness. Certainly appreciate CIT's help in us getting the word out today. We are doing some other things. You may see some direct mail. You may see some email or even some telereach phone calls going out. We're trying to make as many suppliers who fit the bill as possible aware. So I would ask you if you also know of others that maybe are not participating in this call, but that would make sense to know about it. If you can pass the word, we'd certainly appreciate it if you can help us get the word out to any of the companies in Virginia that are affected by DoD sequestration cuts. So any of the companies who meet the above eligibility criteria can apply, but the one criteria we do have is that those who apply need to go to apply after attending an introductory workshop. So in order to make sure that we're setting people up for success, we've got a series of workshops scheduled across the state. We'll be executing those from September through November. The first one of them is on the 30th, next Tuesday in Roanoke. Company must attend the workshop in order to apply for the assessment. Those companies that come to the workshop will be given a link to make an application, and those that are selected for the 45 assessments that we have funding to execute will get an assessment through a tool called Core Value. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this one, but this is it's an interesting tool that helps value private businesses. It works similarly to on a set of standards similar to the GAP standards that have been developed over time through some research at MIT. And there's an algorithm, a proprietary model built behind the software that has, based on the responses in the assessment questionnaire, is able to give a relative range of valuation and potential increases in valuation from addressing opportunities or gaps that are identified through the assessment process. And so we're going to help work with those companies to build that model. That is free, so I probably should say this up front, that there's a $50 charge per company to come to the workshop, and that gets you up to 3 seats, so you can bring 3 attendees from each company to the workshop for $50. The core value assessment, if you're selected to go through that, will be provided free of charge and will help us build then an understanding of what the needs are for the business. From that assessment, we'll create service proposals to help address the gaps, particularly those driven towards business growth. And our priority is going to be given to those things that help diversify outside of a company's current market. So the more that the opportunities are identified and the proposals for services match, the more likely those things are to get the funding from the program. And then ultimately, the intent is to serve at least 20 companies, and we say at least. It could be more, it could be less. It's going to depend on what level of services are proposed based on the assessments we see and so on. All of the services and the proposals for those services will be based off of a standard cost for like services, so everyone will pay the same amount. And then again, those services are provided with a 90%, 10% cost share. So the program pays 90% of the cost. The company pays 20% or 10% of the cost, sorry, at the acceptance of the proposal. So I'm going to let Amy speak to the introductory workshops and how we can get into the program.
Okay, so we have 9 workshops scheduled that begin next week and run through the 6th of November. They're geographically spread throughout Virginia, with 3 being in Northern Virginia, 3 in the Hampton Roads area, and then 1 in Richmond, 1 in Abingdon, and 1 in Roanoke. And on the slide, for people who are listening to this later, as it's changed, you'll see this on the slide, that it lists the dates and the location for each of these 9 workshops. The workshops themselves are provide you with some executive level training on facilitating strategic growth or supply chain excellence. 7 of them are in that strategic growth area, and 2 are on supply chain excellence. The workshops themselves are not the program, but what they do is they'll help you open up your mind to some different ways of looking at your business, of how you would move from that DoD space into the commercial space, and just generate some just, I don't know what the right word is, but entrepreneurial type thinking, I guess. So if there's any questions about that in the Q&A, we can answer those as well.
Amy, how long are those workshops?
Good question. The workshops are scheduled to start around 8:30 or 9 so that people can get there, because Northern Virginia is a little hard to get to. So I think they start with breakfast at 8:30 and they end up about 3 o'clock.
Okay. We did have a couple of questions came through here. Might be a good time to ask them now. Who provides the services that will be given? You mentioned, Dean, that if it's something that you guys can't do, you'll find another outside consultant or vendor that could do that. So who provides generally the list of services you had listed there?
Most of the services can be provided by Gen Ed staff, and things like the strategy, innovation, growth thinking, those types of things, supply chain optimization, those are more in our wheelhouse and will be things probably provided by Gen Ed staff. We've got some third-party partnerships set up with folks in different areas like the market research and web design and so on, and we've got several different quality folks that we can work with in those different areas. And we'll be matching folks, if those are the needs, if those are the things that come up, we'll be matching folks, based on locations, geography, et cetera. So we've got people in various areas prepared to support the variety of different things.
Yeah, and one other thing that I might add, if we don't have the capacity ourselves to provide a particular service, we've got some partners that supplement us, like Dean said. One of the really key partners that works with us is the Research Triangle Institute in Raleigh, North Carolina. They help a lot with something called technology-driven market intelligence that takes the technology that a company has and maybe some permutations of that technology and can find other markets and can even identify primes that, and when I say primes, I mean private sector primes, but that the company can work with. And we've got demonstrated success doing that with some SBIR companies as well as other industrial companies in the Commonwealth.
We had a question came through about the defense supply chain company. Does that mean only companies already selling products to DoD will be eligible? What about R&D contract companies through SBIR projects? I'm not sure if they mean they have an SBIR from DoD or they're just trying to generally find in their business, do some market development. And then the follow-on question to that, which might be related, is are you focusing on product companies or also with services and R&D companies?
So I'll take the second question first because I think it'll help me answer the first one. Is the second question is it's both, right? So while I say products, and I try to say products and services every time I say products, we have more of a manufacturing background probably, so I think in terms of of physical things, but you may look at things like, say, simulation and modeling folks, where people are involved in developing new kinds of training methods or other types of service-based or IP-based kind of things. Those companies would also apply, right? So it's not just physical products or supplying physical products. It could be things where companies have received grants to do research along lines for a particular defense system, that research or the products and services that could ultimately come from that research would fit a commercial market. Those would be a good fit for this program as well.
Yeah, also something, I had a question this morning about cybersecurity. There's huge markets that are outside the Department of Defense in cybersecurity, so that's an area that we'd be happy to help companies with.
Somebody asked, does defense supply chain, do companies in defense supply chain, does it include the intelligence sector?
Yes, I think so.
So
When we say defense supply chain, what we're really talking about is anyone who supplies products or services has contracting relationships that ultimately end up providing products and services to the Department of Defense that are going to be subject to those cuts that are happening due to the sequestration decision.
So if a company's a little younger and may not have actually had much DoD work yet, but will probably be impacted moving forward, maybe they've had their first, a phase 1 and a phase 2 SBIR, and now their DoD contracting opportunities are going to be more limited just because of the sequestration coming. Is that company, even though they might be just 6 or 7 or 8 employees, would they qualify, or you have that? You mentioned the size limits. I know that.
Yeah, at this point, I would say it's 6, 7, 8 probably wouldn't qualify unless we are unable to subscribe fully, in the above 20 space. But if you've got someone who's that, 20 or close to 20, they may qualify. We've got a company in Charlottesville that we work with that has gone through the SBIR process, gotten some grants, they've got a product, but they really are going to diversify that outside of the DoD space and into some commercial applications. Those types of situations would fit because they address the primary goal of the program, which is to help the economy of Virginia continue to grow even though the influx of DoD dollars is not. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And maybe what if a company has a lot of DoD contracts and they were definitely going to be, or they have been impacted, and they're just they just don't have a lot of employees, but they've been doing a lot of sales, and if they can show they're directly impacted, is that someone you want to at least talk to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so those are folks that we've been encouraged to come to the introductory workshops, and that's the purpose for these workshops, is to be able to bring people in who look like they fit the criteria of the program and be able to have kind of some of those conversations as well as we go throughout the day, along with, as Amy said, doing some education to start thinking about other opportunities and starting to shape what some of those opportunities might look like.
So the workshop would be great for anybody, even if they know they don't qualify, just to at least learn some stuff that you guys are going to teach. Secondly, if they can show that they have been impacted by sequestration, they can talk to you about how they might be a fit for the program further. Even if they're not 20 or 25 employees, they need to have an impact, because that's really the purpose of the program, is to address those who have been impacted or are imminently going to be impacted by sequestration. That's correct?
Absolutely. That's correct.
So you got to think about that. So, sequestration as it relates to government contracting and a lot towards the DoD, and I guess the intel community as well, as someone else mentioned. Someone had a question about the...
Can I say one other thing?
Sure.
Okay. Also, in addition to this program, this is a specific grant-funded program for defense companies. But in addition to that, Gen Edge has a small business program that we're going to be rolling out that's focused at companies with less than 20 employees. And so there may be a program that hasn't quite, come to pass yet. We're in the foundational stages of that, coming up with a set of services that are affordable or no charge at all for some of the smaller companies. So I can answer some questions about that separate from this, but if they come to the workshop and we find that they're eligible for the small business program, that's another opportunity not related to this grant.
Perfect. There's a question about the 10% company cost share.
Yes.
They've just referenced that VEDP's international program, they recognize the companies impacted by sequestration are really hurting, so they waived all company cost share. Is there a reason for the cost share you guys have?
I think it's two reasons. One is the program was set up that way just to make the funding work, because it's not set up as a program in order to just give money, but it's to provide some service and assistance. And so the real reason is probably the second reason, which is the companies that go through the process have to have a little bit of skin in the game, and so it's really set up as a 90% share. So if you think about what that means in terms of the services you're going to get for what it costs, if we've got, you know, $1.5 million really, I think, set aside for the delivery of services, if 20 companies were to share that equally, all things being equal, if it were, you know, $70,000 or $75,000 worth of services over a 6-month period, your share would be $7,500. So it's set up in that way because it's a change initiative, and it's really geared towards making sure that it's not just people, you know, looking for, hey, here's some money to go do something, but it's, if you remember when Amy talked about what Gen Edge does, Gen Edge is measured based off of the impact, and so we want to make sure that what ends up happening is impactful to the economy of Virginia, of the Commonwealth.
Yeah, and everybody always hears about skin in the game. That if you're just getting some free consulting, and you might want to do it or maybe not, but if you're paying for it, you get a little bit more involvement and make sure that it is something you want to do. Otherwise, you can reconsider the program.
Absolutely, and that's because it is a consulting relationship and a change process. We recognize that it works better when it happens that way. I would say that the biggest challenge will be the commitment of time and resources by companies as they go through it, because, you know, it is a fairly focused, as Amy, I think we said earlier, we have to do this within before June of 2015. So we're taking a 1-year program right now and probably doing it in 9 months, and that's part of why, for instance, the timing of the workshops is so quick and so on.
You meant June of 2015?
June of 2015, that's correct.
Perfect. Somebody asked, even if the company has not yet been impacted but anticipates potential future impact by sequestration, are they eligible?
Absolutely. Many of the sequestration cuts aren't going to hit or are going to hit the worst in FY16 and 17. So it may be, again, we're trying to be anticipatory here as well as deal with companies that have already taken a hit. So absolutely, the question is significantly impacted or will be significantly impacted.
Perfect. And that's all the questions I currently have.
Great. All right. Well, we have this website. The link is on here, dmep.genedge.org. If you go there, you'll see all the details on the program. There'll be a little bit more information on that core value assessment. There's a couple of white papers there that show some of the research behind it and the value that you get for that. I believe, by the way, that that's about a $500 product that you end up getting for free if you're one of the 45 that's selected as you go through the process. And then, of course, links to the registration for these introduction events. And so I urge anyone who's interested in participating to go there, hit the link, and register for the event. Again, it's $50 per company for up to 3 employees to attend. And we hope you bring 3, because the more people we can get exposed to the things we're going to talk about there, the better off you're going to be set up for success. And so hopefully the program is meaningful and valuable for those on the line, and as well as those who may hear it later. I will say that there are 9 workshops scheduled across the state, and from my perspective, sooner is better because of the timeline. So we are kind of doing them in waves, if you will. So as Amy said, there's going to be 3 in Northern Virginia, 3 in Hampton Roads, and then 1 at some different locations, Richmond, Roanoke, and Abingdon across the state. But the sooner you can get in, the better it is, because then the sooner we can get into the assessment process, because we will be selecting folks throughout the process of the introductory events so that we can get going on getting the services, so that we're not trying to do everyone from February to June of next year. So the sooner the better is all I can say. Our contact information is here. Please, if anyone has other questions or wants to discuss it individually or what it means to their company one-on-one, please contact myself. I'm the program manager for this, And my email is on the screen, dyoung@genedge.org, or you can reach me on my mobile at 804-357-2084, or contact Amy. She's the marketing director here as well, amccarthy@genedge.org, or you can reach her here at the Richmond office at 804-323-2226, extension 228. Both of us are living and breathing this program right now and trying to get folks into the events. So feel free, please give us a call, and we hope to see you at one of the events coming up.
Perfect. And I guess the take-home is that if you're not sure if you qualify, you could consider attending one of those workshops if the times meet your schedule and get some really great training and further discussion as to how you might qualify. If you have any further questions about qualifying in advance, you can certainly talk to the folks at GenEdge about your particular situation, recognizing everybody's got their own particular situation, background, and what the opportunities are moving forward. So that certainly is probably a strong way to look at that and inquire if you have to. And we will make the PowerPoint presentations available. I'll send that to everybody, both the CIT presentation as well as the program presentation here. I'll send that out to everybody in probably a PDF format shortly here this afternoon. And again, any questions about the CIT programs, let me know. My contact information will be in that email, and certainly follow up with the GenEdge folks to find out more about your participation in that. What I think is an interesting and valuable program. So with that, I will I end the program. There's no other questions online. You can certainly contact us all directly via email or phone, and I look forward to hopefully chatting with folks soon. Thanks.
And thank you, Robert, for helping us with the webinar. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.